Okay. Welcome to an all-new episode of Good Game Edmonton. I'm your host, Cellarcast. Joining me on this episode from the Kiwi Production Studio is Edmonton City Councillor of Ward Nakota Isga, Andrew Knack. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. This is a whole new format, so I'm excited. As we dive into the questions here, let's get started with a round of Mario Kart.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We already did a practice round for anyone listening and watching.
And Andrew came in first.
I did. I have picture evidence, just so people know.
Yep. Feel free to tweet about it after. It's all good.
I will.
Because if we don't, did it actually happen?
Exactly.
You said you say you took a picture, but did you?
Always good to have proof.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Oh, I hope we do okay.
Well, this is tougher because, to be fair for everyone, we played the initial round at 50cc, and now we're at 150cc. So,
got to make it fun. Make it interesting.
We got to challenge ourselves.
Yes. No, it's true. I'm curious though, Andrew. When as we're gaming here, when did you first get into video games?
Since as early as I can remember, I've been playing games. I had a VIC-20 and a Commodore 64 as like my first gaming thing. Oh no, there's a banana peel already. Great start. I think when I really got into gaming is when I got an NES, and I've been playing on that ever since. And it's part of my life. So I've been gaming. It is rare for me to go more than a couple days without some type of gaming. And it's just something I really enjoy. It's my pastime. I know other people like to read, other people like to watch movies. For me, I like to play video games. Yeah. And so I've been doing that since the very beginning, and that's sort of how I got all started into it. And I fell in love with games. It's I'm a nerd. I was and still am an introvert. So gaming was a good sort of way to get into connecting with other individuals.
Yeah.
That was nice. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Here, working in public office, bringing video games to your colleagues at City Council, what's that been like,
Yeah. So my first term, it was a lot harder, I will say, because, even my first two terms, I worked with one other person who would have sort of considered themselves a gamer, if you will, but for everyone else, it was fairly new to them. And so when, I started talking about these ideas, when I came up with the fact that this is something we should engage with, it was sort of catching people a little off guard. And this term is quite different because we actually do have a council who's made up of a lot of folks who are who either game themselves or are, I guess, and this isn't meant to be solely an age thing, but to a degree, young enough to realize that this is an important pastime for many, many people. And we have to, evolve as a city. We've got to respond to all the realities that we're facing. Yeah. And part of that includes trying to support an industry which is pretty incredible and the biggest entertainment industry. And so I love to see it.
That's awesome. Because obviously with that kind of crossover between work and play, from April of last year, I believe, that esports making it into city council agendas and such. Walk me through how that has all transpired, and why. You speak about colleagues that are into gaming, but like why now particularly in terms of bringing esports to council?
Yeah, and so as much as a gamer that I am, I don't actually do much on the esports side of things. Although I try to watch it, particularly Rocket League, from time to time. I really like to see sort of how that world evolves.
I'm sorry, we're not playing Rocket League.
I know, that's okay, but I did finish third on this one, which I must say I'm impressed with, considering how bad we were doing the first two laps.
Yeah. Yeah, not really my best time, but I guess this is what happens when you multitask.
Exactly. It is a little more challenging. So the idea behind bringing in sort of the esports conversation is, I've been reading, watching, I listen to a lot of video game podcasts to try to stay up on what's going on in that world, in that industry. And, you just sort of see a little bit of the writing on the wall that this is where things are going. It's a pretty massive industry. In a lot of cases, esports gets massive audiences well above what your average sporting event is. And I just saw a potential opportunity, knowing we have local game development, knowing we are a pretty big sport community, if you will, in the city of Edmonton, and thought, how can we try to better take advantage of that? There's these massive events that take place. What can we do around that?
Yeah. And
so that's sort of how it all started. I wanted to ask the question of can we do this? What would it take? Oh no, I'm going to fall off Rainbow Road. And so, I brought a motion forward that says, hey, what could it take if we want to be an esports sort of leader? What can it take for us to sort of solve this and take advantage of an industry that's growing? And so, that's the idea behind the motion. And thankfully, council was very supportive. I think they saw a lot of economic opportunity in that. And so we've been sort of examining that, talking to folks in the community who put on events and support one another. And that's just sort of where we're at, is we wanted to say, how can we do this better?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, there was the initial report and feedback about, maybe not necessarily as much community input at first, but now it seemed like that was resolved and there was community feedback brought in. And I think there was a follow-up to be had in the fall here as to where did that end up?
Yep.
For those who don't know, could you share as far as, where did that land?
Absolutely.
At this point?
So originally we were going to actually have a report to do a final check-in. But I mean, essentially we got great news when we were talking about it. So one of the motions that we made at this last check-in was, go and engage within the communities that are doing these types of events, see what they need to be able to be successful. Yeah. And then the other piece to that puzzle is, can these events tap into money that we would also provide to sporting events? Because these really are. It's sort of similar in that regards. And what we ended up doing is we got the report that came back, and it said, let's make sure that the funding is easily accessible by everyone that's putting on these events.
Right.
And so that's already in place now. So folks that are looking to do esports events, there's an application process people can put into and to get some funding to help grow these events. Because, in Edmonton, we are starting a bit smaller, and it's going to take us time. I mean, the whole point of my motion originally was, how do we do a mega sort of esports event?
Right.
And so, but appreciating that when we talked to the community, the feedback very commonly was, hey, we want to get there, but we're not there yet.
Right. Yeah. We can't quite get into Rogers.
Yeah. We're not going to use Rogers Place, even though that was part of the motion to say, hey, can we use Rogers Place?
Yeah.
But folks are saying, we'd love to be there. Help us grow. Help us do these small size, then move into mid-size, then ultimately move to large size. And so from a funding perspective, we're there. And I think from a community engagement perspective, we're there now. I think the community, the esports community is generally aligned and recognizes that, we all have the end goal, but it's going to take us some time. So let's work together. Let's use the city resources when they're putting on a civic event. Let's, and because again, that's how a lot of our small scale sport festivals and just other festivals grew into something bigger. It took time. We used resources, and then we put on these great events that are now sort of foundational to the city.
Right.
We should be doing that for esports, and I think the community's on board with this plan now.
Totally. And I guess, kind of reiterating, so you see the city's role as far as, resources in terms of space, as well as funding through existing grants, and seeing how the grant evolution sort of plays into it all, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's some smaller city spaces, but I think actually what we're finding a lot from the community is that, I think about groups like, Norquest are providing a lot of space. That's becoming a fairly major hub for a lot of esport events.
Yeah.
But as we continue to see that grow, how can we tap into these sort of mid-sized venues or, you know, again, if we're not using Rogers Place for every day that we're allowed, which most years we aren't,
right,
we could do maybe a mid-size event there that you just do on the floor as an example. And you don't have to use the entire arena to start.
Yeah.
You've gone to concerts or events where folks just use a smaller space, but within that. So that's the idea that I think we're looking at right now. And I'm really excited. I think there's a lot of potential. And the other piece we needed to really talk about as a city is sort of what is our role as sort of city of Edmonton? What is our role as city council?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I heard in a lot of feedback is that with the greatest of respect to city council, with the greatest respect to our city of Edmonton's civic event staff, we probably shouldn't be the ones leading this.
Right.
If we're leading it, there's the government part that comes into play. There's a little more bureaucracy, and it's a very justified bureaucracy. And that's not a criticism. That's just a reality.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do these types of things and run it from the city, then I think you create a situation where folks aren't going to be able to do everything they really want to do and move us in the direction we need to be.
Right.
So we really said, hey, we're going to be great supporters because we do that really well in a lot of sporting events.
Right.
I was just at, I'm very fortunate. I had a chance to go to Washington, D.C. last weekend to serve as one of the presenters for the City of Edmonton's bid on the 2030 Gay Games. And, what was really interesting about that is, again, like my role there as city council was to sort of make sure people know that there's political support, that the city's going to put in funding, that if you pick Edmonton, that we're going to be supporting you with good transportation options, great venues. We've got what you need. Yeah. But we're still not running the show.
Right. Okay.
So that's sort of where we're at, is that we wanted to say we're not going to run the show. But we are here to support you every step of the way like we do every other event, and we are darn good at that work.
Totally. Yeah. And I guess, speaking from a stakeholder perspective, you like you said, like we have programs like Northwest Esports, VIMI Esports, plus student clubs at NAIT, U of A. In terms of that stakeholder perspective, not seeing the city as being the one to lead it, but how do you see post-secondaries playing, shaping esports in Edmonton? Should they be leading the charge and the community follows with like the city? I feel like, that public agency for esports, like a startup Edmonton or something, is maybe not in the cards, especially from what you're saying here. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think the post-secondary side of things, and again, this is a ever-evolving industry right now. Oh, goodness, getting off the bridge.
This is not a good start.
That's good. It's okay. It's okay.
At least for me, you're doing great.
I'm fourth in this after 2 races, to be fair. So
I feel like my car got slower. Did my cart just get slower?
It might have. It very well might have.
Bowser's having a big breakfast here. Okay.
So I think where the post-secondaries can really come into play in this equation is recognizing that they, again, a lot of college and university sport teams, they're doing this. They can support the community. And again, I'm going to give particular recognition to Norquest, who I think is just really knocking it out of the park on this front. They see a huge opportunity. They know that it's going to be beneficial for the world that is evolving. People are looking for those opportunities when they're thinking about where to attend post-secondary. Yeah. Folks are investing. That was interesting. I think I found a shortcut accidentally, but didn't do it successfully. So I think where there's great potential right now is the need to continue to, host team or actually be leading teams, giving people that opportunity to come into that world. Also supporting it in the way of making sure that their venues are available. So as they're growing, do they have venues that can actually put on some really great events? Yeah. And as we're trying to grow this community, can they host some of these events for us? Yeah. Because again, I think the problem is that the city, we have some great venues, but a lot of our venues are going to be more for the large scale events, where I think they could put on some really great mid-size events using their facilities. And so I think we have some great opportunities there. I think, again, some post-secondaries are treating this as a major opportunity. Others are just learning about it still,
Right.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we need to, again, as a city, part of our role is how do we support those groups who are looking to host new events, and maybe they're trying to figure out how to best learn about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I got first.
Fourth is better than
Hey, you had that was growth.
That
Growth
was
for both of us.
that was gross right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
But I don't know how you got into first. Look at that.
So close. We're going into the last race, 1 point down against your son, Bowser Jr.
Oh, jeez.
I must crush them.
Good times. Yeah, let's crush them. Yeah, no, I mean, just to reiterate, like I just came off a 3-part conversation with Northwest Esports, and the biggest thing that really resonated with me was hearing from the student athletes of that sense of belonging on campus. One of them actually met their significant other, believe it or not, and it felt so reassuring knowing that this is another place of community of people coming together that Northwest is working on, and for that kind of space, they have so much room to grow to ensure that they're a true esports hub, I think, from a post-secondary level to invite everyone in. So really being that medium-sized venue as a hub for everyone to come together, and then that's kind of the launch pad to get to those bigger venues. Like we got GameCon Canada happening and everything. But I am curious though, given that esports intersects, we'll start the third race. We'll see how this goes. I'm hoping I can best 4th place, but we'll see. But like in terms of esports, I've always seen it, and I feel like you've seen it as well. It intersects with other industries like business, tech and innovation, film and TV, broadcasting and content creation. In your opinion, how do you see esports? How should esports be classified in Edmonton? People say it's arts. People say it's tech. Is it both? It's every time. I've always been curious because everyone sort of seems to have a different opinion on that.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of both, right? Because I wish you could sort of simplify it in one area, but I think that's why it's been tough as a city. Because even groups, we've had some groups that are like, should some internal but arm's length groups lead this work within the city? And I think
what are some examples of that?
Some good examples are the Edmonton Screen Industries Office or Edmonton Unlimited.
Yeah.
And so these were conversations that we've been having, and we're trying to figure out, is this the right way to go about it? And I think while these groups are interested in supporting, they also feel to a degree that they might not be the best experts in all these areas, because the Screen Industries Office is more than just gaming, although it's certainly an important part. It is film, it is TV, and so we run into that place where you can only do so much, especially when you're a smaller office. And so they do ask the question, like, how do they? That was me, by the way.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm right now 7th, which is depressing here.
You're getting back at me.
Yeah, I have to figure out a way to get better. So I think the decision sort of came from these organizations of saying, hey, we want to support, we want to be a part of this, but also we think we're probably not going to be the best leads, right? And you've got better resources available to do that, to support that. So I think going back, what I would sort of think about here is that when we're looking at this arts versus other piece, again, gaming is an art, no matter how much you want to call it otherwise. I think everyone sort of is at that point now where we recognize it's important, and it, just like movies, just like TV, just like film, we have to support this world, and we've got some great local developers. Obviously, BioWare's a great example, one of our best known examples, but there's many other great development studios that we want to support. Now, some of them are in the esports world and some of them aren't. And so I think that's also where some of the interesting tension comes, because it's not so cut and dry, and it's not like not every studio cares about esports the exact same way. And so what do we do? Oh my goodness. I think I had it.
I think I have an opportunity to catch up.
We are so close. This is the last little bit here.
Oh, No.
I'm gonna try to get out of
Uh,
I'm third. We got distracted because oh no, I got hit with a red shell just before the exit. Oh no. Brutal. So this notion of esports and art and tech is that it is supporting different worlds, because on the esports, like, it is an event, right?
Yeah.
So it is part of the entertainment industry. It's some esports, groups that run these actually consider themselves more on the entertainment side than almost even the gaming side. The gaming is the product that they are putting on the show on for. And so that is why there is a little bit of nuance in this world, and it's something that I think part of why the city doesn't want to lead it but wants to support it is because we don't have that expertise. Like, we help support great events. We do put on great events as well, but not in this particular world. We don't like broadcast events in the same type of way. And so all of these components come together and require a very different skill set. And that is why we're in this world now of saying, okay, yes, it's new. It's something that nobody in the city has the exact right expertise to be the lead. But between all of these groups, we can absolutely support and foster this community, ideally in partnership with post-secondaries, ideally in partnership with other groups that are working to do this work.
Right.
And I think that's sort of what I ended up realizing at the end of the day, once we had all of these motions, is that our job can be that of a convener and saying, okay, what do you need to do something well? What do you need to do something well? Do you two know each other, and are you two working together? And if not, how do we get you working together? And then how do we come in and support you?
Right.
That is often at its best. The city can do a really good job of bringing together the right people, finding who in the community can help support one element or another element. And so that's I think the right place, and recognizing that this is arts, this is tech, this is innovation, this is entertainment. It's all of them.
Right. Yeah. And you talk about that kind of that curator bringing everyone together. Like, do you find that, based off of your experience of being a passionate gamer, is there that sense of having some other folks at the city that are a little bit more well versed in this, just so that they can better understand what people are telling them, just so that they know that they're equipped with the best recommendations?
And I think that was also part of the benefit of doing these motions, is it allowed some of our city staff, because some of the city staff that led the creation of these reports maybe weren't too familiar with this world. And so for them, it was, I actually think, a really good positive. It can be frustrating when you're dealing with somebody who's leading a report who doesn't know the world.
Right.
But at the same time, it also maybe gives them that outside look to say, hey, I don't know this world.
Yeah.
Here's the world I do know. Let's sit down and talk. Yeah. And then in the world I know, I can learn from each of you, which that has helped advance their skill set. Yeah. And at the same time, they've been able to bring in knowledge that wasn't often at the same level for some of these community groups, because they're new to it, new to certain elements of this as well.
No, absolutely.
And so that's why I have been so excited about how this has sort of come together. It took a little longer than I would have liked, as everything does in government. But at the end of the day, we came into a good place, and I think the industry of esports in particular is going to be very strong in Edmonton. The key is the city's not going to be a barrier anymore, because in the past, I think we were sort of not necessarily an outright barrier, but because we didn't understand that world,
right?
And I use the collective we in that, it just meant that when groups came to us saying, hey, we want to do this thing, people are like, what do you mean? Like, how does that work? What do we do? And now I think there's an understanding that, like somebody that wants to put on a triathlon event, or like somebody that wants to do a cycling event, we now know when somebody says, I want to do an esports event. Yeah. Oh, great. We know how to help you. Right. Let's do this. Let's work on this. It's no longer starting from scratch.
Right.
There is a base level of knowledge, and now there's a community ready to really advance this. And I think my feeling is, and of course I would defer to those in the community who are doing this work, but the folks that went through those meetings, the folks that got connected, I think they feel like there's a great opportunity now that wasn't there even a year ago in the city of Edmonton.
Right. Well, and I feel like I'm only one person, so I'll just speak for myself. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the community roundtable, and that was a really cool opportunity. And yeah, it was just nice to see everyone coming together who are just passionate and stuff. I know we're not talking politics on this episode, but
we're not. That's like my entire
I know.
life. That's
I know.
The only thing I talk about.
So weird, so bizarre. But I'm curious. You know, you're not seeking re-election for city council with the election next year in 2025, and obviously you'll probably deserve a nice, well-earned vacation. But nevertheless, you know, in terms of life after City Hall, in terms of gaming and the work you've done to bring esports at council on the agenda, making the motions and talking about it with your colleagues, seeking community input, do you foresee anything as to how you can be involved with this in any way, since it is your passion outside of work? So
yeah, it's the interesting world of what do you do when you after moving along from a job that sort of has consumed your life for what will, by the end of this term, 12 years, and so it's tough because
that's a milestone right there. That's a trophy.
Yeah,
well earned.
By the way, speaking of trophies, third
bronze. Yeah,
I did, and I mean, most importantly, I did win against the other human, yourself. So that's the only thing I'm very proud of. I'm not proud that I was not in the 1 or 2 spot.
Bowser Jr. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, it's so early, you know, I still got a whole year left. And so, like, you know, I'm trying not to start thinking too much about what's next because, like, I still want to really commit to this role. But, but at a high level, like, I mean, I envision a situation where when I'm out of this role, that's going to give you a lot of time because this is a 70 to 80 hour a week job. It consumes you. And you get to sort of be a generalist in a lot of areas. You don't get to spend a lot of time digging into any one area. Right. So when you're done, if, you know, I might not have to use 70 or 80 hours a week. So can I go, you know, do whatever my employment is, but then spend a bit of time focusing on a few key areas that I can help expand and volunteer my time on, and wherever that people might think that's a benefit. So and obviously gaming just being a critical part of my life is a spot I could certainly envision supporting folks on.
Love it.
Because I do think there's still a lot of potential. Like I have that vision. When I made the motion, it was I wanted to host a mega esports event within 2 to 3 years. I don't think we're going to do it in 2 to 3 years, but can we do that in 5 years? I think it is possible within the next 5 years for us to be hosting something more significant like that. And so how do I help contribute to that? Now that I think we've got the internal knowledge that we need, what can I do from the outside supporting some of these organizations that have just incredible volunteers who just do incredible work, but maybe don't have an understanding of the political side or the administrative side because they're busy doing work in their own areas. Maybe that can be of value to try to help grow this world. Because I want to support this industry. And I think we have to take a step back. Part of why, you know, beyond my own personal passion, and beyond sort of the worldwide economic impact of gaming, even though this year and last year's, you know, there've been a lot of layoffs in the gaming industry. It's a very hard industry to be operating in. It still generates significant revenue, far more than anything else. Absolutely. But it's a bit of a challenge right now if you're in the development side of things. Gosh, we even heard, you know, I think the time recording this, a few days ago was Inflection Games here in Edmonton had to do some layoffs, and just tragic because you're seeing and hearing that. I mean, I think at this point it's almost every week I hear a story about a gaming studio. So that's not great. But what I do sort of acknowledge still is that there's still a lot of opportunity and a lot of employment opportunity and a lot of opportunity to grow both the development side in Edmonton and the sort of entertainment side on the esports. Because, you know, I think a lot of these spots that are closing down, they're often closing down in higher cost environments. Edmonton's are really, you know, as much as people don't love things like property taxes and all that, and you know, we had a big property tax increase this time. We often forget that Edmonton is by far and away the most affordable major city in Canada by a large margin right now. So can we go to these companies and talk about, hey, this is a great place to be. So the same thing that is happening right now in Southern Alberta under film and TV, because they have managed to really find their place.
Yeah.
I think we can do that on the gaming side, both on the development side and on the esports side. I think we can do both. And so I've seen it as a big opportunity for us to diversify what we're doing as a city to provide more economic opportunities for people. And it's an industry that is large enough, even with all the challenges that it's facing right now, that I think we could be a really great home for folks.
Love that. Love that. I have a couple more questions before we wrap up. Before you go, let's do one more quick. We won't do a full three.
That's fair. That's fair.
But we'll play one more game here.
I love it. You went 100 cc, so that's good. So that means it's going to be likely.
I feel like it'll be a little more even.
I like it.
Yeah. Not 50 because that was just the warm up. Dear God.
Oh, we got new cars there. Okay, look at that.
Okay.
We unlocked it due to.
I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, no. Right after this recording, in fact, you're actually headed to Extra Life Edmonton game day. And I'm curious, and you're obviously showing that support.
That's right.
Love it. I'm just playing today.
It's all good.
I haven't gotten the podcast swag yet, so that hopefully this time next year.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, how long have you been involved with Extra Life?
This is my 11th year participating, and sort of the 12th year where I've been involved. So, I mean, and I'll use the term involved loosely in the sense of like, there are an incredible team of volunteers who run Extra Life Edmonton,
of course,
and host, and I think we have to remind ourselves what's beautiful about Extra Life Edmonton is they, like most things in Edmonton, we punch well above our weight. You would think, Extra Life Edmonton, are they going to be one of the top fundraising teams? They are. They're one of the top fundraising teams in North America. Year after year after year, they've raised literally millions of dollars for the Stollery. When you look at what's happening in other cities that participate in Extra Life, there's very few that are anywhere close to what is happening here in Edmonton. So I love that.
Yeah.
So there are people who volunteer their time and who are doing these events, not just game day, which is today and for the next 25 hours. We're going to be playing video games to raise money for the Stollery. But they put on events throughout the entire year to try to support and grow that opportunity for Extra Life. So my involvement, if you will, is really just that of somebody that's been supporting them since I've been on council.
Yeah.
I've loved, how many red shells are you going to do here?
That was only green.
So my first year on council, I got invited, but our mayor at the time, Don Iveson, was sort of the official representative. So I just heard about it and I showed up and I was like, this is a cool thing. I love playing games. I love raising money for groups like the Stollery. So how can I participate? So the next year I was like, I'm in. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be raising money. And so I've been doing it ever since. And now we're at a point where, 11 years in, I go to this event every single year. There we go. And it's so incredible. And it's just I think a great example of what's so special about our gaming community in Edmonton here. Again, we're not the largest group in the world.
Right.
But we are, I think, some of the most passionate people in the world when it comes to this world, to gaming, when it comes to supporting great causes. And so we use that opportunity to come together and support one another and build a stronger community. What I love about Extra Life is that, whether this is your 11th year like me, or whether it's your first year, you are going to be supported by this community and welcomed into this community, because in the end, we know that we do better when we are working together on these major types of things. And I think that's a testament to what makes Extra Life and our city such a great place to be.
I love that. Yeah. And like with Extra Life, I feel like that's a significant event. There's GameCon Canada happening as well next year, of course. Another big event to really highlight the community and bring other folks in. I'm curious, you've been involved with a lot of different gaming events, obviously a lot of gaming in your personal life as well.
Not the blue shell.
Oh, no. No. And I'm down in 8. What's not my best GG moment. But speaking of that, what has been a true GG moment for you that has really just lived in your mind rent free?
Oh,
God, this never ends.
It did for me, and I did finish first, to be fair again. I'm proud. First of all, I'm just proud of as somebody that doesn't own a Switch, sadly, and just patiently waiting for a Switch 2. I very seldom play Mario Kart, so the fact that I've been able to do that as well brings me great joy.
I clearly need to practice more.
Now I already forgot your question because I was talking.
GG moment.
Yes,
GG moment.
the GG moment, the good game moment. So, I mean, again, I actually think it is what Extra Life is. It's going to those events and it's participating with people who are passionate about helping one another, who are passionate about a piece like this. So, I mean, like I could talk about like individual, like fun things that I get to do, but, and personal experiences of gaming, but it's, and those are all great. I mean, I've almost 40 years of that, of life that I've enjoyed. But at the end of the day, it's being able to come together to go to these events, and see the Edmonton community supporting one another, seeing that their passion for the things that they love can come together with helping community. And so to me, that's more of what, like, a good game moment versus any of my, if you want to hear my individual skill moments. But no, that's nothing like nothing like what's going to be today. And I'm going to get to go again today right away. And I'm going to hear about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that Edmontonians have raised for the Stollery. I'm going to see community members who are going to be introduced to this organization and gamers in the city for the first time and develop new friendships and find new connection opportunities. And that's why I love gaming, because it is this pretty accessible world.
Yeah.
You don't have to have been playing for 40 years to get into this. Now we all have our phones and we can start here.
Yeah.
I play, for as much as I play console gaming, I play Marvel Snap every day on my phone.
Okay.
Because that's just a quick thing. I could play a couple 2 or 3 minute games. And that's what gaming is all about now. It's about letting people just find a way to decompress, to get invested in a story, to find a community. And yeah, that's what it's all about.
I love that. I mean, I love this conversation. I know we have to wrap it up, but before we do, I'm just curious for all of us to gain just that one extra little bit of insights when it comes to gaming and esports, especially from an Edmonton lens. What would be one thing you'd recommend that we should all do to understand and experience, esports and by extension, of course, gaming?
I think it is I think one of the things we can do is for folks to go and not even need to participate, but to go to attend some of these events.
Right.
Like there are a lot of events. Again, we've picked on Norquest quite a bit because they put on a lot of events.
Right.
And there's a lot of great opportunities for people to just show up and go get yourself introduced to that community. Because again, esports is different than just gaming, even though it's all about gaming.
Yeah.
It's a different world. It's a whole different level. It is,
right.
For people who maybe aren't at all even in the esports world. I mean, these are genuine athletes who train and practice that skill set, and it is impressive. Like, for as good as I am at Rocket League, when I watch the esports competitions, I'm like there is a whole other 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tiers of people who are doing incredible things. And so, like, go and check out what that world is and experience it. It's it's a great community that's coming together. It's and it just, for me, it excites me. It sort of fuels my existing passion for the world of gaming. and it gives me an opportunity to learn about the new opportunities that exist. It's for me, more than anything, it's a reminder about the need to constantly look at ways to evolve, to innovate, to try to be open to new ideas. And it's not, esports is the vehicle of this, trying to keep myself in an open mind, because the world is always changing. Like, we have one of the youngest city councils. We have the youngest city council we've ever had in Edmonton.
Right.
When the 2021 election happened, 7 or 8 of us, I think, were under 40 at the time. And, while that's evolved. But I do try to remind myself that even in that situation, that still meant that most of us were above the average age of an Edmontonian, which is weird. I'm 40 right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, I still feel pretty young. But like, there's a whole other world that exists.
Yeah.
And, maybe you have kids, somebody has kids, and they get to see it from their lens, but maybe you don't have kids and you don't get to see that world. This is a good thing to do, to try to expose yourself to a different way of thinking, and to follow the community of developers that we have as well. That's the other thing I'd really encourage people to do. We have a lot of people that do work in the local Edmonton gaming development industry, and are usually quite open about their journeys, about what's happening, about and so I love to just follow the journey of these folks,
right?
Because it is opening me up to, again, both the huge potential, but also the challenges that exist right now in that world.
Of course. Well, that's all I had. Thank you so much for this conversation, Andrew. GG to the game. GG's for the conversation. I really appreciate it. This is, like I said at the top of the show, this is a whole new format. Thanks for playing along. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And then hopefully to have you on again sometime in the near future. Absolutely. Or maybe post the election when you're back with the rest of us.
Got to practice some Rocket League before next time I come, so we can play that in particular.
Deal. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Give me a year, maybe 2. Yeah. As long as there's no major updates, then I can hopefully catch up to be on your level. But thank you again, Andrew. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you to Kiwi Productions for the studio space. Not only do they do content creation out of here, they also offer services from event production, live streaming, and broadcasting to event planning. For details, you can go to kiwiproductions.ca. A lot of synergies I'm sensing there. But catch up on all the latest episodes of the show and check out some community resources all in one go at goodgameyeg.ca. And if you enjoyed my conversation with Councillor Knack, please rate, subscribe, and share wherever you listen to podcasts. Stellarcast out.